Brew Strong is brought to you by Blickman Engineering, home of the top-tier brewing stand. Visit them online at blickmanengineering.com.
Brewers, it's time for the beer radio you've been looking for. This is the show that dispels myths, tackles the toughest topics, and makes no apologies for geeking out on beer. Hosted by two guys that drink before they think, Jamil Zainasheff and John Palmer. This is Brew Strong.
Hey, howdy. Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters.
Greetings, Cretans.
Yeah. From the lovely Hop Grenade in downtown Concordia.
Concord, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm in studio today. My first time here. It's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. It's a great great location. Beautiful bar, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Even the bathrooms are nice.
They are. They smell good.
And they've got a nice large space under the stall wall, So you can, put your foot out there and tap or reach underneath or,
you don't have to bend down so far to reach under it.
Right. Yeah. Hey, you could probably crawl back and forth from,
But there's just the one stall. There's not another one conveniently next to it.
Right. Well, no. You're standing using the urinal. Somebody gives you the signal. You just Shawshank your way right underneath that bad boy. And there you go.
I must say, I hadn't thought of that.
Lots of room in there.
Yeah.
You could probably fit like 20 people in that stall.
I think 4 wheelchairs could fit in there at one time.
Oh, easily. If you're into that sort of thing.
Yeah.
The city's pretty into it. They needed lots of them to be able to fit in here in all the places.
Oh, yeah. Well,
special bar, special stalls.
When you need things to fit into all the special places. There you go. Absolutely. So what are we doing today? We're
Scott was working on his log earlier.
In the bathroom?
No, right here in the studio, actually.
Hey, you got a nice bathroom over there.
Yeah, I know, but if I do it here, I get to hear Bevo say the word log like 10 times.
Right. There you go.
Sometimes she'll pluralize it, logs.
Speaking of logs, how about that Blickman Engineering, huh?
Hey, yeah, they're working on logs all the time. Or breaking up log jams, as it were.
Right.
Innovating our brewing day.
Oh, okay. It sounds like they need to innovate the toilet. Something better flow. I know our fine sponsor, Blickman Engineering, they've been sponsoring the show for like 8 years now, 7.5, something like that. No, but they're great. They come up with all sorts of new, great, innovative equipment.
The products,
coming up with something interesting. I'm sure they're going to be at the San Diego Homebrewers Conference even.
Oh, yeah. Coming up this spring. Yep.
If you get a chance, and you're at the conference, make sure to stop by and say hi to Blickman Engineering. All the good guys there, guys and gals, nice people.
Yeah.
Very nice. And
he recently
they'd love to say hi.
Yeah. He recently did a reboot on his Boilermaker pots.
Oh, well, there you go.
Those are now made in the USA and don't have the welds on the bottom like they used to. It's a much smoother looking pot. Looks nice.
Nice. But that John Blickman, he's got a smooth looking pot.
There you go.
That's what I've heard. Blickman Engineering, Blickman with 2 N's. Go check them out, blickmanengineering.com. All right, so what are we doing today? We're doing Q&A questions on mash and sparging.
Yeah.
Mashing and
had
sparging.
Several good questions come in the last couple of weeks. And so I thought we would take a theme of mashing and sparging to address.
Okay.
And
sure.
First one up is step mashing.
Okay.
And the question is very succinct. I think I could probably read this, and then we could go to our usual short break and then address it at length because
I'll worry about the breaks here, son.
Okay.
You just
I don't want to get ahead of myself.
I will take care of all that.
Okay.
I got it.
Okay. So he says, this is from Kevin Lee. of Seattle. I just listened to the most recent podcast of the session, and they talked a little about step mashing. I would love to hear a more in-depth discussion about it from Jamil and John.
Right. Yeah, your first thing is the people on the session, they don't know anything, right? So when you want actual brewing advice, you listen to this
Brewing knowledge.
There you go. That's right. You listen to this show.
Yeah.
And so here's what we'll do. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll answer your question about step mashing right after this.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, the proud owner here at Keystone Homebrew Supply. We're thrilled to be entering our 20th year of supplying this great industry. And to show you, the Brewing Network Army, how much we appreciate your support, we're offering you 10% off your first order on our website, KeystoneHomebrew.com. Just use coupon code BNARMY at checkout, and I'll get your order out the same day. My goal at Keystone Homebrew Supply has always been to have a complete supply of everything a brewer could want. When you place your order online or when you come into our store, it's our goal to have everything on your list and more. One aspect of KeystoneHomebrew.com that we're really excited about is the ability to fulfill customers' exact grain bills. Do you hate to wait? Keystone Homebrew Supply can get your precious yeast and hops to you within just one day if you live between Connecticut and Virginia, and within 2 days east of the Mississippi. KeystoneHomebrew.com. Coupon code BNARMY. I'm Jason Harris, and I approve this message.
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters, this is Jamil Zainashev, and I love a bold, hoppy beer, one that spits resin in your face and makes you cry uncle. There are a lot of great hoppy beers out there, but at Heretic, we want to make something as bold, dank, and resiny as possible. We use hops at every chance we get, including multiple dry hop additions. The result is Heretic Evil Cousin. This light golden, 8% Imperial IPA has an easy malt character that helps take the edge off the massive bittering, but it takes a back seat to the in-your-face hop character. We make sure this beer finishes dry so the hops can jump out and slam you in the taste buds. If you can't get enough hoppy goodness, Evil Cousin is your cup of tea. Cheers.
Hey, dude, you know what beer this is?
Oh, no, all the labels are falling off.
Yeah, or the ink is run.
Well, if it's the pale ale, you're good, but stay away from the quote-unquote Belgian.
Oh, man, this guy needs to get some grog tags.
Grog tags are reusable, write-on, wipe-off, commercial-grade bottle labels for your brew. The guys at Grog Tag are homebrewers. They wanted great-looking, sturdy labels for your bottles, buckets, carboys, kegs, and growlers. They also wanted a label that not only looks good, but can be easily removed and reapplied during bottling without that nasty glue residue being left behind. No residue, water-resistant, and ice chest approved. Grog tags stay on in water or an ice chest, and they stay legible. Visit grogtag.com to customize your label or coaster from dozens of different templates for free and see how awesome your bottles can look.
It's that pseudo-Belgian.
Yeah, we're getting him some grog tags, dude.
Grog Tag. At least your beer will look good. grogtag.com.
Hi, I'm Jamil Zainashev, and in addition to my work on the Brewing Network, I write the style profile column in every issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Hi, I'm Sean Paxton, and when I'm not prepping for the Homebrewed Chef on the Brewing Network, you can find me writing articles on how to cook with your homebrew for Brew Your Own magazine.
Greetings, cretins. This is John Palmer, and when I'm not writing for Brew Your Own, I'm reading it.
John Palmer, Sean Paxton, Jamil Zainashev. If you love listening to them on the Brewing Network, you'll love reading their articles, tips, and recipes in the pages of Brew Your Own magazine. Join Jamil, John, and Sean 8 times a year in Brew Your Own. And when you subscribe to BYO on the Brewing Network website, half of your subscription price goes right back to the BN to support great beer and food programming. So sign up for Brew Your Own magazine through the BN website today so you can listen and read your way to better homebrew.
Have you ever dreamed of attending the World Brewing Academy? This year, thanks to Lallemand and Danstar, one lucky brewer will make that dream a reality for free. Lallemand and Danstar invite you to enter the Beer School 2015 contest. One lucky grand prize winner will receive fully paid tuition to the 2015 World Brewing Academy web-based concise course in brewing technology worth almost $4,000. From now until December 13th, 2014, every Danstar yeast packet you use is your ticket to enter. Visit danstaryeast.com for the details and to print your official entry form. There's no limit on the number of times you can enter, so get
brewing with Dan Star and get your entries in to the Dan Star 2015 Beer School Contest. Whether you want to build your home brewing skills or build a career as a professional brewer, this course will change the way you think of beer and brewing. Enter at danstaryeast.com and get the dry yeast advantage with Danstar and Lallemand Premium Brewing Yeast, and enter to win.
Like the Lance Armstrong of the beer world. Except for that nut thing.
This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. We're talking about
mashing and sparging.
Mashing and sparging, and we were going to talk about step mashing, right?
That is correct. Yeah, our listener, Kevin in Seattle, kind of said, I want to hear more in depth about mashing from John and Jamil. Well,
and specifically step mashing.
Step mashing, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So kind of I guess we should start with kind of what, where, why, and how. What step mashing is.
Right. So different temperature rests in your mash. So single infusion, single temperature, 152 Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Very common.
Yeah. The saccharification rest.
Right. There could be other rests. You could do multiple saccharification rests. You could do, 148, 152, 158, 156. You could do a couple of them. Some people will start warmer, drop it down. You get a little bit more extract that way.
Right. You can adjust the fermentability of your wort that way.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's other temperature rests you can also do, such as a protein rest, somewhere around 135, 130, 135. Typically, those rests are used when you're using a higher protein adjunct or malt, such as wheat malt or rye malt.
Isn't 135 a little too high?
It can be.
Like the top was like 131-ish, maybe?
That could be. I haven't used a protein rest in a long time.
20-something to... I can't recall.
Yeah, 125 to 135.
I don't do a lot of step mashing at all.
Right.
I generally, if there is not a good reason to do it, I don't do it.
Right.
Because when I was initially taught to brew, there were a lot of steps that people were saying I should do that I found were harming more than they were helping.
Right.
And I started to think of everything that way. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Let me eliminate all this stuff that I'm doing and figure out why I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, let me try it without it. Let me try it with it. Which one's better? Oh, okay. And then I started to kind of weed out things that didn't do me any good. And step mashing generally was not a benefit to me. So why step mash?
Well, historically, we were dealing with, and I'm saying we as in brewers, we're dealing with malts that had less modification. That is, the starches that we're going to convert to sugars in the mash were less accessible to the enzymes. They were still heavily coated in their protein matrix. And so you used a protein rest to kind of help break that up. Even though the malt had been crushed, molecularly, these proteins needed to be dissolved to help free the starches to be available to the enzymes. So a protein rest was useful, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, to help with that.
And the protein rest is an enzymatic rest like any of the others.
Yes.
It's different enzymes that are essentially active at a given temperature, like beta-glucans or beta-glucanase or the proteinase or...
Right. There's two main classes of enzymes in the mash, the protein enzymes and the starch enzymes. The starch enzymes are what we know as the amylases. The protein enzymes are proteases or peptidases as well. Those, there's actually like 20 different proteases at work in the mash. Each of them with their own temperature optimum, even with each
Can
of them
you
with
name them in order of which one you like the best to which one you like the least?
There's Doc, Sleepy, Sneezy, Dopey.
And now is that top to bottom, bottom to top?
I haven't decided, but
I prefer either depending on the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, there's
like 20.
my point was that there are so many different protein enzymes in the mash that you can talk about a range of protein rest, such as 125 to 135 F. But in fact, the protein enzymes, a lot of them will not denature even until you get to the saccharification region, 150, 155 F. So they are active. The question is, it's a matter of how much time you're spending in the protein rest region is how much activity is going to result. With today's heavily modified
do they work
malts,
on different proteins as well?
They do.
So there's head-forming proteins, and there's non-head-forming proteins. There's haze proteins. There are all sorts of different proteins, different length proteins, and some of them are very beneficial to the beer,
right?
Like head formation,
right?
Some of them are, less valuable to beer, things you don't necessarily want, and those are the ones you're trying to get rid of with a protein rest. But my experience is a lot of people are harming their beers,
That's correct.
by these long protein rests that are, getting rid of all the head-forming proteins.
Yeah. Today's malts are so modified. They're so they've been broken down to a large extent during the malting process itself, so that any additional time we put into a protein rest is kind of further breaking down what's already been broken down, and you end up generating lots of free amino nitrogen, which is great if you're making a high adjunct beer like a American lager, premium American lager, where you need some more protein, in this dilute, malt mash. But for an all malt mash, any real time you spend in a protein rest these days with modern malts is going to tend to be detrimental. You talk about the fact that there are all these different kinds of enzymes that will act on different kinds of proteins, and some of the proteins are beneficial, and some can be, like the haze-forming proteins, can be detrimental. The problem is that there is so much overlap between these different classes of enzymes that you really can't single one out over the other. So if you spend time in the 130 F area to trying to enhance your foam proteins, you're at the same time the haze forming proteins are also going to be generated. And if you spend too long there, everything is going to get broken down to the point where your head retention actually suffers.
Right. And, essentially, like you're saying, the maltsters today have done the work for you.
Yes.
It's not like, and people romanticize, like Scott, romanticize the yesteryear stuff and, back in the day. And, sometimes.
6 different rests.
It's not romanticization if it's true. It really was better. Right? Okay.
No, yeah. So just because something was done a certain way in the past doesn't necessarily make it, something to strive for. It's cool to fiddle around with it, but it may not be making the beer better.
That's right. I mean, yeah, and you look at, I don't want to digress into hops, but I mean, a century ago, we were working with hops that were primarily aroma hops, 1-to-1 alpha-beta ratios in terms of the alpha acids or beta acids, and they were old. They had been aged, or they were older at the time of use. You got a different character of bitterness out of hopping 100 years ago than you do today. They've done some studies to try to mimic what that hop character was like, and they discovered that hop character 100 years ago was actually a much harsher, coarser bitterness than today's high alpha, clean bitterness that we're getting from our IPAs. So, just because it's, older and traditional doesn't mean it's necessarily better.
All right. So if you want to do a step mash, though, what you do essentially is, since it's easier to raise temperature than lower temperature, you start out at whatever your lowest temperature is. If you're going to do it by infusing more water, there's 2 ways you can do it. You can, recirculate your mash liquid through a heat exchanger of some kind and raise the temperature, or you can put a flame under it, which it tends not to be so good because you can kind of scorch your mash, and you'll tend to stir up a lot of grains from heating it that way, and they'll clog things up. But probably the easiest way is infusing more water. So you start with less water and make a thick mash. You start at, your lower temperature, then you calculate how much boiling water or hot water it's going to take to bring it to the next step. You add, that amount of hot water in, stir it up real good, wait for that rest. Then you can do another rest by adding more hot water and so on and so forth. Can also, this is essentially what a decoction is,
right,
in order to change temperature levels, do step mashes. So you can start off by pulling a portion of the mash out and putting it in a separate pot, heating that up to boiling, and then adding that back to your mash and stirring it in. It does a couple of things. It kind of explodes the remaining starch that's in those grains. It denatures the enzymes, but when you put it back into the main mash, there's still plenty of enzymes there, and it raises the temperature so you're at your next mash. And then the other ways is to recirculate the liquid through a heat exchanger. That's pretty easy with something like some of the Blickman systems with the Tower of Power.
Right.
More Beer has a system like that, a Herm system. And generally what you want to do is you can raise maybe a degree a minute or half a degree a minute tends to be about the target speed for doing your raises to the next level. What else?
Are there any beers at Heretic that you do a step mash for?
No.
Okay. You don't even do it to manipulate your fermentability. You just kind of change your main main mash temperature for that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
See, and that's the thing. I mean, here's an award-winning brewer making awesome beers, doing a single temperature infusion mash. One mash temperature.
Which brewer is that?
That's you, my friend.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you.
But step mashing, it is a useful tool. But unless you're doing an adjunct mash or a rye or a wheat mash, something that has more protein than a typical mash, there's really not much reason to do a protein rest.
Right. Now, I've heard that Charlie Papazian does a protein rest on every beer he does, no matter what.
That was the rumor or the statement 5, 6, 7 years ago. I don't know if he still does it or not. Mm-hmm. But as brewing keeps moving forward and we learn more and more, understand more and more about the ingredients that the maltsters are delivering to us, I think it's becoming more obvious that a step mash is not needed. Mm-hmm. You can do it if it's fun, but understand the effect that it is going to have on your worts and on your fermentability and on your beer.
Right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I think did that answer your question, Scott? Are you happy with that answer?
Yeah.
Did you listen at all?
Yeah. I just there's a couple things. One is, why do the people that swear by it and to the point where they insist if you're not doing a step mash, you're not doing everything you need to be doing, where are they coming from?
Well, it's like anything. If you've done something and it worked for you, it's like when you go out and talk to the ladies. At one point, you got lucky. So you keep using that same drivel time and time again. And really, you just got lucky with one really freaky, desperate chick. Yeah. And it's not working with all the rest of them. It's actually hurting you.
Yeah, that pink handkerchief was kind of beside the point actually at the time. You believe since you had that one success, you keep clinging to that, and you're sure that was why you had success that time. You changed something that night, and you're like, oh, and that worked out. You changed something in your beer. You sent it into competition. You got an award. And, we all know that sometimes that stuff is, variable. And what may be more likely is you finally got the pitching rate right.
Right. Something else was really, you bathed that day, and instead of, clinging to bathing, you're clinging to the pink handkerchief.
So it's superstition, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, a lot of times. But people, I'm sure, I've heard Charlie makes great beer. So, I'm not saying that you can't make great beer with step mashing. I think what John and I are saying is, why do it unless there's a reason to do it.
A real
don't
benefit
just
to it.
don't just do it to do it. Do it because you're actually improving your beer, not just keeping it the same, and wasting another hour of your day.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the other question would then be, how do you know when to listen to wisdom of the past when it comes to brewing, right? Because
that's easy. That's easy. What you do, speaking of wisdom of the past, you download all the Brew Strong shows. There's your wisdom of the past right there. Huh? You see how I did that?
There you go.
See? Yeah. If you like this wisdom of the past, you can dial in and talk to us live, 888-401-BEER, 888-2337, and we'll possibly take your question right here on the air. And
even
make you feel warm and fuzzy.
The telephone isn't it's not too newfangled for me, just so you know. I'm down with the telephone.
Okay.
It's a little new, but it's all right.
Well, because they had that back in back in the 20s. So you're good with that.
Yeah.
That's about as modern as you get.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
After this, anything before the stock market crash of 29.
Right. There's your cutoff. I go with Prohibition. Anything before Prohibition was fine by me.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's anything after. I'm not sure. I'll decide. One of these days, I'll decide. And if you want to support, fine programming like this, fine information, a lot of the stuff that John does, that I do, that the Brewing Network supports, is all through the AHA. Speaking of the conference that Blickman's going to be at in June in San Diego.
Right.
You know how you get to attend that thing? By being a member of the AHA.
That's right.
They do the conference. They do the Zymergy magazine. They do the forum.
Right.
They do the
they do
the pub discount program, the rallies. Endless stuff.
The brewery rallies.
And most importantly, they're keeping an eye on what's going on around the country, various states, federal level, as to laws that are affecting homebrewers.
Yeah.
And they keep an eye out on that stuff. And I think that is one of the great things that they do. And one of the reasons to support an organization as a member, to take some of your, a batch worth of money, for brewing a batch of beer towards a membership. One, you're going to learn a lot of stuff.
Right.
Two, you may actually pay for itself with pub discount.
Right.
Three, somebody's going to keep your hobby legal and enjoyable for you. So
they're your voice in Congress and around the states to allow you to enjoy beer.
They definitely help play a big role in that.
Yeah. Well, this year in California, we had a law in the books that was going to prevent next year's NHC. It wasn't intended to do so, but just the way an amendment had been written, next year they weren't going to be allowed to serve homebrew to a group of people at an event. And the AHA got behind that.
The Southern California one got canceled because of that law.
Yeah.
So, they got in there and fixed that up.
Yep.
So, good use of your money to support the AHA, if you ask me. All right, let's take another short break, and when we come back, we'll have more of your questions right after this.
The best thing to happen to brewer's yeast in a century is from White Labs. For pro brewers and home brewers, yeast in the new Pure Pitch package powered by FlexCell technology redefines how fresh your yeast can really be. That's because your yeast is cultured, grown, and delivered all in the same Pure Pitch package. It's never been transferred and never been exposed to the environment. Pure Pitch is powered by White Labs' proprietary FlexCell container, which took 6 years to develop and is designed to be the best home your yeast has ever traveled in. Just cut open a Pure Pitch package and pitch the purest yeast possible. Learn more about Pure Pitch powered by FlexCell technology at whitelabs.com. And while you're there, sign up for one of the many great classes White Labs offers, like Yeast Essentials 2.0 coming up August 22nd and 23rd, or any one of their great workshops for brewers, distillers, and vendors. Pure Pitch from White Labs. 6 years to develop, refine, and perfect. 2 seconds to open.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for every beer style. I want a Cicerone.
The Cicerone Certification Program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious. Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
Tonight is the night.
We bring the creature to life, Dr. Blickmanstein?
Yes, J.P. Gore. Everything is perfect for my next fermented creation.
But Roger, the storm is too far away. We'll never have enough power to isomerize the creature's alpha acids.
Yes, J.P. Gore, we will. For I have in my possession the Tower of Power.
Blickman's new Tower of Power is the evolution of automation. Control hot liquor, sparge, and mash temps like a pro. The Tower of Power is a high-quality gas-fired rim system that works with your current brewing setup. With ultra precision, the tower can hold your mash to 1/2 of a degree Fahrenheit. Precision and repeatability. The Tower of Power is the answer to automatic, fast ramp times. See more at BlickmanEngineering.com. Bring your next creation to life with the Tower of Power.
Dr. Blickmanstein, with the Tower of Power, you can probably give me an afternoon at the pub to enjoy a pint.
Don't be silly, J.P. Gore. We have beer to brew.
And now, Northern Brewer presents What If Homebrewers Ruled the World?
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll follow me, I will lead you into the gallery area. Now, the first piece up for sale today is a Jamil Zainashev original, a bottle of 1997 vintage Evil Twin.
Oh, I see.
A bidding for this one-of-a-kind piece will start at £7,000. And if you'll continue to follow me, ladies and gentlemen, I can show you a rather abstract piece from Bay Area brewer Justin Crossley. It's a German Doppelbock entitled Justin's Giant Bock. The brewer's notes here indicate that this beer had excellent mouthfeel.
That's just a crazy dream. Or is it? With Northern Brewer, a thirsty nation can craft its own ale and lager for the greater good of mankind. Northern Brewer, the home of superior customer service and the finest selection of home brewing goods for the future.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids. Come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 10 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer at Brew for Your Die IPA in the Northeast, Northwest, parts of the Midwest, and Alaska in cans and on draft. So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in a can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack cans.
Learning to brew has never been so disgusting. This is Brew Strong.
All right, we're back. Having a good old time in the studio. And the greatest thing about it is, instead of going to Doc's old skeezy kegerator with lines from the day that thing was put into that studio in Martinez to the day you left, the lines in that thing were never, ever, ever cleaned. Nobody ever cleaned those lines.
Nope, they were horrible.
It was vinegar and butter and crap and the turd. You know, the first thing out would be like a turd. And then, then they would follow with beer. And then, eventually it could become sort of drinkable.
Yeah. Well, you think Biba would have cleaned those things. I mean, she was there. She's a girl. I mean, do it,
I wasn't on the payroll then.
Oh, okay.
Right.
That's right.
But you were cleaning lines. just not on the clock. That's what you were getting at, isn't it, Palmer? I'm just playing along. Don't look at me.
Well, and now what we do is we walk outside. We look at the 21 taps on. Right. We look at the attractive staff working behind the bar, and we say, "Hey, give me one of those," and that's it.
That brings up a question.
The glasses are clean. I'll tell you the other thing. I appreciate the effort that, cleaning a bunch of glasses in some skeezy studio in Martinez is not so easy.
Right.
However,
but it didn't have a sink.
Those things smelled like ass. And they were nasty. I am so glad we're not there anymore. I love Martinez. Great town. Some wonderful people there. Great places to go. Like, go to Creek Monkey. That sounds good. Don't drink beer at the old BN studio. Go to Creek Monkey and have a beer. Come here and have a beer. Yeah. We were really suffering there. I'm telling you, that was third world. That was ghetto.
It was not purpose built.
No.
No sink, no drink.
Right. If the purpose is to have a decent beer, not purpose-built.
Yeah.
It did make me think of a question, though, because Palmer got himself an Evil Twin, and you guys were tasting it. And I was wondering about palate objectivity. Do you have an issue with being able to be objective when tasting your own beer? I figure if anybody can, you can. But how is
right? That? I like our beers. That's the reason we send them out. So I always worry about that because it's too easy to say, "No, my beer's fine." And I've run into so many brewers that were like, "No, my beer's great," and you're just like, "Wow, there's a real problem with this thing. It's it's sour, it's buttery, it smells really nasty," and they don't taste that. And you're thinking you've got a good enough relationship with them. You can say, I'm kind of getting a little something off there, and it's just really over the top. I'm like, no, it's perfect. You're like, okay, I know how this person works, and they just can't see it. And so I'm always worried about that. I really, really worry about that. However, I do know that I taste every beer we make, and I can tell you, little slight changes in it, and I can say, hey, this is not the ideal that we're shooting for. This is a little too oniony, garlicky, or this is a little dry or a little sweeter, or whatever it might be. I'm on top of that. I annoy the hell out of Chris. I'm like, hey, what happened on this batch? And he's like, I don't know. Because it's such a small difference. Sometimes it's the hops are a little different. One cut of hops that we got versus another, or something's happened. A different lot of grain. You're working with all these agricultural products. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
But it's something you got to really watch out for. So
well, and it's applicable to homebrewers too, obviously, right? Because they're tasting their own stuff, like you just said. And so, did you have any issues with that when you were competition brewing as a homebrewer?
Yeah.
I always do.
You do have issues with that.
I got better and better at it, But initially, it really, it's tough because, without sending it into competition, you don't really know. You think and then you're like, I don't know. And then people tell you it's good, and you think it's bad. People tell you it's bad, and you think it's good, and you're just like, it totally screws you up. So competition is the only really way to do that, I think, at least get objective feedback.
What about a homebrew club meeting? Because it seems like...
No.
Well, that's true. Homebrew club means, if they know it's yours, they'll be nice.
Or, somebody beat somebody in a competition, or somebody didn't share, some hops with somebody. It's like, asking your significant other if you look fat. Did you take the garbage out? No. You look fat.
Yeah, my wife told me that all the time.
it all just depends on, so many little things, how the person's feeling that day. So, just depending on one person, for something, that's tricky in and of itself because, each person's different. There are days when I go and I taste beer and I'm just like, that doesn't taste right. That doesn't taste right. And then I realize it's me. It's not all these beers. I'm having like 6 different beers and all of them don't taste right. Well, maybe I'm the problem.
Yeah.
That happens.
It was that big lunch of Korean barbecue that kind of threw you off.
Right. It could be. So, that's a good question, Scott. It's just, it's tricky. It's tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, you really, and anybody who thinks that they can do it and are perfect at it, they're full of shit. They really don't know what they're talking about.
It's any area of life, too, right? I mean, everyone thinks their house is decorated nicely, except for nobody else does, just you do. So I would want to find solutions for people out there who truly want objective feedback.
Competition.
And that's it. There's your answer.
Right. There's no competition for, there's probably competitions for everything. House decorating, radio voice, whatever it might be. Yeah, so, you need to, you always need to, look back at yourself when you're trying to evaluate something and say, hey, I could be wrong. It seems like this, but, let me get some backup.
Yeah. I'm always super critical of my home brews. I mean, I'll brew it, and I have a great time brewing it, and then when I finally get around to tasting it, it's like, I don't know, it's just not like... It's like a little hot. I
didn't taste a lot. I haven't tasted a lot of yours.
No, I mean, that's the problem these days. I'm doing so many beer things. I'm not brewing very often. So I'm not in practice, So, pitching rate, oxygenation rate. I mean, there's so many little things that can be just a little off. Right. And I taste enough beer all the time so that I'm really critical of my brews.
When we first met, we met at, it was the MCAB event in Berkeley.
2000, yeah.
2000. And you and I met, and they were doing a off-flavor tasting. They were sending around pictures of, like, Coors or Bud with doses of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember you were quite good at it. You were picking out stuff that the rest of us weren't.
Yeah, I'm a pretty good beer judge. I'm not a master or a grandmaster or whatever, but I'm pretty good at it.
I think you're good at, specific flavors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well you do on, like, the grand, impression of style.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I'm more of a brewing process person, and I will drink a beer and say I like that beer, I don't like that beer. But in terms of, like, picking apart, a particular Northern German alt beer or something like that, I don't have that information at my fingertips like a lot of people do. But I can taste the beer and it's like, this is in balance. There's no off flavors.
Mm-hmm.
It's pleasant to drink.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what's most important.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter whether it's just style. A good friend of mine gave me, he's like, oh, you want to try our cream ale? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. I can enjoy a good cream ale. And I tasted it. I'm like, so what is it that makes you think this is a good cream ale? And I didn't mean it, offensively. I said, it's a well-made beer.
What do you like about this?
It tastes nice as a beer, but why do you think it's a cream ale?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, look at the style guide, I'm like, it's too malty, it's too, you got too much body, it's, too much malt character. I don't know if it was hobby or not, but I'm like, it goes, well, the style guide says, low to medium. That could be medium, low to medium, low to medium, low to medium. I'm like, you're missing out on you're looking at the parts, and it is not the whole.
Yeah.
You're missing the idea. It's like you could take, 4 wheels, a steering wheel, an engine, some seats, headlights and a radio and all this stuff, and say you're building a car, but, have something that doesn't roll down the road, and, nobody would say that's a car.
But it has an engine, and it has a steering wheel.
Right, exactly. And, that's the problem. It's like, well, that's an engine from, from...
a weed whacker.
A weed whacker, right. And, that's wheels off a monster truck, or off an airplane. And
that's a ship's steering wheel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not a decent car.
Yeah.
So you may make a great beer, but it may not fit in that style. And I think it's that perception of what the style should be. It comes from drinking a lot of examples and trying to figure out what the classics are or were, and it's tricky. You got to sit with somebody that's really got the experience, and sometimes you sit with people that you think have the experience, and then you taste with them, and you're like, nah, not quite. But look at the lacing on that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful. I'm drinking Jamil's Evil Twin, and it's beautiful lacing, beautiful clarity, and nice and hoppy.
All right.
What do you think is more common / helpful to your long-term processes? Being somebody like John, who is overly critical of everything he does, or what I imagine is more common is the person who likes everything they do because they did it?
Well, if you're too critical of what you do, some people. So I'm very critical of everything, but I don't let that slow me down or stop me. I keep going.
You just devastate everyone in your path.
Because the solution is right. Well, but on what I do.
Right.
My solution is that wasn't perfect. Here are the problems. Let's try to do better.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do it again. Let's do it better. Let's keep working on this. Okay, now how did it turn out? Is that better? All right, we're working in the right direction, and you keep going and you improve. Some people, they become very critical of what they do and they allow it to stop them. Right. I'm not good at brewing. I'm going to stop. I'll just buy beer. That's disappointing.
Right.
Some people, they, are so enamored at what they do. They're like, I made beer. Oh, it's the greatest beer in the world. And then they go down a road of opening a, nano brewery, and they make really horrible beer, and, they're financial ruin, or they never attempt to improve what they're doing.
Right.
I see that a lot, where people believe that everything's great. So
if you're opening a nano brewery, don't sell your first batch because you've made it and you feel you got to make money. By all means, dump that first batch if it's not good, and get some feedback on whether
it's
good.
What Scott's
true. But
bringing up is there's people who don't understand that their beer is bad.
Right.
They're just they think everything's great.
They can't be objective. A, number one, and B, number two, they probably have their friends and family blowing smoke up their rear end. So
I mean, you can be you can't, like you're saying, Jimmy, you can be too critical and you can allow that to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, you can be too accepting and not strive for improvement.
Right.
So, middle of the road, be critical, always strive for improvement. If this batch is...
I would say the better one is to be critical and just don't let it stop you.
Yeah.
The reason you're being critical is so you can get better.
Yeah.
And you can get better. And the first step is being critical.
Mm-hmm.
There you are.
Yeah.
So take a look in the mirror, Scott.
Oh, this is specifically directed at me? Oh, okay. I thought I was good looking.
I'm just trying to help you out here. I didn't say you weren't.
I'm sure your mother thinks so.
I'm sure somebody does. Well, I'll tell you, if you think you're good looking and you think you're going to, be getting jiggy with it, check out adamandeve.com, our fine sponsor. They've got a ton of stuff that you could use for your romantic evening for the person who also thinks you are attractive.
Even if you're not good looking.
Right.
Maybe especially.
Yeah. Right. Maybe you buy a few things that will really help with that. And even if you don't have somebody to share with, you can find some entertainment for yourself there.
That's true.
I'll tell you what, because for a limited time only, you go to adamandeve.com. You use the special offer code Jamil, Jamil. And when you do, you're going to get one item. You buy one item, 50% off.
Woo.
Okay? You get 50% off that item, and that's all the money you're going to spend.
Okay.
50% off one item. Now, they're going to throw in 3 free DVDs. There's a good, figure 2 minutes a time. The average DVD, like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
You're talking, 4.5 hours at 2 minutes a session that you need.
That'll keep you occupied for a couple days.
That like almost a week.
Yeah.
Right? Depending on how active you are. So, and it's not just any DVDs. You actually get to choose. You choose from genres such as anal, amateur, Asian, big breasts, big butts, bisexual, chunky, co-eds, fetish, gay, interactive, POV, lesbian, MILFs, etc. And they're going to throw in free shipping and a free extra gift. Again, all you bought is the one thing, 50% off.
Wow.
And then you get free shipping, free gift, 3 free DVDs, all by using the offer code Jamil, Jamil, at adamandeve.com. You can even do it from your mobile phone.
Wow. I can't wait to see what that free gift is.
Pretty awesome. And the free gift changes.
Oh.
It changes over time.
Yeah.
And early on, somebody named Wood told me that it was lube, and then later on, it was something else, and I'm guessing the Woods buy a lot from AdamandEve.com.
It could be. Yeah.
They're as long as you're using the offer code Jamel, I'm good with it. That's all it takes. Just saying. AdamandEve.com. Check them out. All right, let's take another short break. When we come back, we'll actually get back to another question about mashing and sparging right after this.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and the freshest ingredients, backed by the best customer service in the business. Do you like to mash using efficient fly sparging, but would like an easy way to heat your strike and sparge water? Enter the new Brewer's Edge electric mash water heater, a plug-in, anywhere, precisely controlled heater for strike and sparge water. Ditch the fumes and second burner and make mashing easy. Go to williamsbrewing.com today and browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy the Williams way.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew.
Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small. Single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business.
A few things happened 30 years ago.
ARPANET migrated to TCP/IP, and the Internet was born. Revenge of the Jedi was renamed Return of the Jedi and opened in theaters. Mila Kunis and Emily Blunt were born, beginning a rad fantasy in my mind.
But all of that pales next to the fact that HopTech opened its doors and began blowing homebrewers right out of their mash tuns. HopTech doesn't fuck around. Real people shipping awesome shit straight to you. Their new website is fast and easy to navigate. Or just call 800-379-4677 and let badass bitch Jade and the gadget guy Roberto blow their warm load of customer service all over you. So visit the site or visit the store in Dublin, California, and support those that support you. Get your brewing on at hoptech.com.
Are you a member of the American Homebrewers Association? Well, you should be. Members of the AHA can focus on brewing beer, and the AHA takes care of the rest. The American Homebrewers Association advocates on behalf of homebrewers like you to legalize the hobby in all 50 states and make sure that beer laws make sense. Plus, there are many great benefits that come with your AHA membership, like
pub discounts that give you awesome deals at bars, restaurants, breweries, and more. Zymergy Magazine and eZymergy for tons of articles, how-tos, easy-to-follow recipes, and news about the hobby you love. And access to the members-only content on homebrewersassociation.org. But the AHA can't do it without your support. Join today so the American Homebrewers Association can keep fighting for your home brewing rights. Visit homebrewersassociation.org or join right now from the homepage of the Brewing Network website. Relax. Don't worry. It's the American Homebrewers Association. Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Back to the two guys that know how to turn beer into beer. This is Brew Strong.
Yeah. I always thought it said two guys who know how to turn queer into beer, which I'm okay with. Apparently, I was voted the most gay of the brewcasters.
Really? Well, that is something
quite a compliment.
Set aside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, works for me.
They never said who the runner-up was, though. I wonder who takes that honor. Doc?
I don't know. I would have to go with somebody like Justin. He's pretty gay. You know,
not a lot on the personal hygiene side and the cleanliness, upkeep of one's property.
Just like if you threaten him, he starts to, revert to, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll give you a
His voice
blowjob.
goes up an octave?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, it's, gay to me is like being straight. It doesn't matter. Just 6 of one, half dozen of another. Who cares?
Yeah.
It is what it is. What it is. It is what you like, and it really does not matter at all to me.
So let's just call everything bi then, instead of calling it gay, because that's very egalitarian, right?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So bi, man. That movie was bi.
Yeah. No, who cares? All right.
People thought my comment was
mash
gay.
and sparge.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, this next question is from Mike Adair Jr., and he says, what are your thoughts on cold steeping of dark grains? He says he's planning on making a milk stout and had read online about cold steeping dark grains.
Waste of freaking time.
The recipe calls for chocolate malt and roasted barley. I've read that doubling the dark grains, cold steeping for 24 hours, and adding that 10 to 15 minutes left in the boil will provide a less acrid and smoother beer. I would think this is desirable for a milk stout.
I think no. I think it does make a damn bit of difference because, all right, here's your thing. When you roast your dark grains, right? You crush them up. If you were to extract them in cold water versus extracting what you're getting out of it in warmer water or hot water, do you really extract anything different? I think not. It's damn near the same. 24 hours in cold water. Water's a great solvent.
Yeah.
The only thing you're doing is accelerating the process with heat. You're not extracting anything really different.
That's a good point.
And if it's the boiling, if hot is so bad for this, you take that same extract and you boil it for 60 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
There's your heat. I've tried both. I think, again, it's like we were talking earlier. People are, it was the day they bathed when they went to the bar to pick up chicks, you know?
Yeah, or they use their dad's clone.
Right. I just think I'm not convinced. I am not convinced that is better. I mean, potentially you're extracting less of the dark malt character total, and maybe that's giving you a difference versus being efficient in your extraction.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if that's the case, it change the amount of grains you use.
That's a good point too.
I just don't think there's no scientific explanation for or give me one. Yeah, tell me why.
Well, yeah,
why
you bring up a good point, because I think
bring up a lot of good points.
Yeah, you do.
There you go.
But I think you'd actually have to test this, with a couple of different waters, pH meters, do a polyphenol count.
If you are putting just dark malts in a little bit of cold water, pH is dropping way down.
Yeah.
If you're putting it in your mash, pH is staying relatively around the 5 range.
True. Yeah, it will drop less in a mash than in water itself, because the pH of the dark malts is quite a bit lower than mash. It's often in like the 4.5 region. So, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I've tasted worts from cold steeping. I've tasted worts from hot steeping. Again, these are not the 24 hours that this gentleman is talking about. Usually more like half an hour. And on the order of a half an hour, I'm getting less sharp notes from a cold steep.
Now, have you just extracted less?
That may be the key. Although, I don't remember what the gravities were. I recently did a little interesting experiment. I'm in the process of revising how to brew, and I said,
we're all gonna have to learn a different way. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, I just get throwing out some of the bad info. Not that there's really any in there, but But anyway,
cut the book in half is what he just said.
But it occurred to me, it's like when it comes to doing extract with steeping grains, and pardon me for digressing, but dry malt extract dissolves so much better with it. We're much less of a pain in the ass in cold water than hot water.
Right.
But
but that's like a hydroscopic phobic thing. It's like a physics thing versus.
Yeah. Well, allow me to get on with this. Yeah. And so I said to myself, so they've steeped their steeping grains in the hot water, and now they're trying to dissolve a big packet of dry malt extract into that, and it clumps up and it's pain in the ass. You got to stir away.
Sure. You can do it all cold.
What if you added your dry malt extract cold, heated that up, and then steeped your grains in it? Would you get the same amount of extract? Well, I tested that, and sure enough, you do. You lose like 2 points out of your total extract from, like, say, 26 to 24 gravity, or in the case of what I was doing, like 44 to 42.
Is that from not extracting as much from the grains, or when you are taking out your steeping grains, you're removing with it some of the higher sugar wort, and when you adjust for water, some of it traveled with those grain husks?
I think that is part of it, yeah.
That's probably more likely than you didn't extract as much.
Right, because really the upshot is that
the dissolvability of the sugar
is
going to depend, on how thick a concentration you have. But if it's not that thick, the sugar will dissolve.
Yeah.
I mean, you can keep adding, the tablespoons of sugar you add to a glass of iced tea. The first one goes in fine, the second one goes in fine, the third one goes in fine. There's really no difference between the first and the third.
Right.
You get to a certain saturation point, then they won't dissolve anymore.
Yeah. But I use water to grain ratios of like 1 to 1, and it's still got plenty of extract from the steeping grain. So that just it makes it easier to do it that way, because you don't have to worry about trying to dissolve the extract, dry malt extract in the hot, which is tends to clump. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah,
you just do it in 2 separate vessels. I mean, usually you're not using a whole lot of water to steep your grains. You do a little separate pot.
Yeah. So yeah, cold steeping it can help, but I don't think there's. I think I agree with Jamil. There's not that much difference between the 2 methods.
Right. There you go. All right. One more.
All right. Hey guys, that would be us. I have a question regarding mineral additions during the mash and boil. This is from Chris Bivens. It doesn't say where he's from. I read John Palmer's book, Water, and that's Water by Colin Kaminsky and John Palmer.
Let's try and get through this quick.
Okay, sorry.
Come on.
Which has a ton of great
3.
info. I think we should talk about the tons of great info. Anyway, here's it. I live in Atlanta. Very soft water profile. Great for making light beer, but not so good for making dark beer. I've stopped adding chalk to adjust mash pH. As I read, it takes 3 hours to affect mash pH. That's true. I now add baking soda until I hit 100 ppm of sodium. This allows me to brew 24-27 SRM color beers. I hope to be able to brew 35 to 40 SRM beers. Any ideas on upping the bicarb effectively? I have heard slaked lime will do the trick. If slaked lime is an option, I have some questions. Any software able to accurately determine how much to use? How to add it?
This is a terrible question, John.
And can I add it directly to the boil kettle? It's a multi-part question, which we tend to frown on, but
Yes.
But I think it's a good question. One point I want to address right away is you're saying this level of bicarbonate I've added allows me to brew 24 to 27 SRM beers, and I want to up that to be able to brew 34 to 40 SRM beers. Just because there is a general relationship between beer color and the amount of alkalinity to reach a certain mash pH doesn't mean that is gospel and you got to follow it to the letter. I mean, you look up in the sky and you see dark clouds. It may rain, it may not. There's a lot of other factors that go into that other than just cloud cover or cloud color. Same with beer color and wort color. So, when you're adding alkalinity to your source water in order to brew a smoother, dark beer, the thing to do is brew that beer and taste it and say to yourself, now, does this beer taste okay or is it too harsh? Do I need to increase my alkalinity? Use the color relationship as a general guideline. Don't get fixated on the numbers. That's my first point. I promoted this whole concept, but people take it way too literally.
There you go. That's the problem. You say something, and then people go nuts with it.
Yeah.
All right. And the other thing is one question per email.
Okay.
Not 10.
Yeah. Yes, you can use calcium hydroxide or slaked lime. And you can use various software such as Beersmith or my brewing water app that'll be coming out in the next month or so. Palmer's Water app, Apple Store. I got to get an Android version going, but
there you go. I recently converted to Fly Sparge continuous sparging. I heard that you were supposed to try to match the rates of outflow with the incoming sparge water. Is there a benefit to adding the sparge water at the same rate as compared to adding sparge water a little faster? I feel like using a pump to add the sparge water at such a slow rate is probably bad for the pump. It's better to pump the sparge water in or the wort out of the mash. Seems like pump the wort out of the mash might contribute to stuck sparges. Right, you don't pump the wort out of the mash generally unless you can, on a larger mash, yeah. I mean, we can pump it out at our size, but when you're homebrewing, it's better to use gravity. It's easier to control, unless you're doing side to side, all on the same level. Then you're going to need to pump it to the next vessel a lot of times.
If you're using a pump at the homebrew level, like a March pump, which are very typical for us, always put a ball valve on the outflow of the pump.
You throttle the out, never the in.
That's correct.
Same thing for continuous water. You don't have to exactly match the rate going in and out. It's just convenient if you can set it up and the outflow and the inflow are matching, then you don't have to futz with it. But you can run a little more on top, a little less. The thing is, if you run, when you run it on there, the most important thing is how quickly you're pulling it off, because the additional water on top, unless you're talking some insane amount, generally the grains are in suspension anyways in the liquid. So adding another couple inches doesn't add like weight that is crushing the grains down or anything. It really makes no difference at all.
Correct.
So just keep some water on top and you're good. And you can pump that in, shut off your pump if you're worried about your pump. Go buy a pump that doesn't have that problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any questions from the chat?
No. Bevo shaking her head.
There you go.
Not that I got. I'm having some issues with my computer, so if I have any, I'll pass them to you. And
It's all those
we'll
porn
figure it out.
sites and
Too many cookies or something. Well, we're over time anyway, so
right
there you go.
And we need to get on. We're going to do one more show, and it's going to be about
yeast and yeast starters.
Yeast and yeast starters coming up right after this. If you're listening live, you can call in 888-401-BEER, 888-401-2337, and we'll talk to you, or at least Bevo, the lovely Bevo will. Anyways, if you enjoy this show, make sure to visit our fine sponsor, BlickmanEngineering.com. Blickman Engineering, Blickman with 2 N's.
That's right.
And see him at the AHA conference in June in San Diego. And buy stuff at the BN store, the BrewingNetwork.com/store. You can get hats, hoodies, glassware, all sorts of stuff in there. Bottle openers, books. You can get John's How to Brew and water and things like that.
And Jamil's yeast and brewing classic styles.
And all of it goes to the bottom line of the Brewing Network and helps keep this show on the air. So if you enjoy it, you can support it that way. A lovely way to do so. Until then, brew strong, everybody.
Brew strong.